All right, Cowboy Nation, the Jon Kitna story. We look at Dak Prescott and we see his overall growth. I would say last year was his best growth parameters. Sizzled out towards the end a little bit. One can argue and say, well, it's his shoulder. I know a couple Cowboys hater would say he just sucks, And we get that all the time, especially if you support the Cowboys and you so happen to be following Twitter or on Twitter and you're on Instagram and you see those stories out there. Dak Prescott can't hit water if he fell off a boat. And people bringing up all types of analogies on how to get Tom Brady or to trade Dak Prescott or let him walk, you see. We get a lot of those stories, regardless how you look at it. My thing is, Cowboy Nation, you don't let a quarterback like Dak Prescott go. There's never been in the history of the NFL the type of parameters and the stats that he create that a team sit back and say he's the problem and let's let him go. I have yet to find or seen anything happen like that in history. However, there are some people that would rather be, feeling like they accomplished something by saying something and say that they are right, opposed to just admitting that they were wrong or are wrong on a situation. And that's just the reality of it, Cowboy Nation. We look at everything from A to Z. I'm thinking that with a new system that we have installing, Mike McCarthy want to be able to install his particular philosophy, his particular system, and he don't want these things to clash. Now, in a different type of world, if you already know that if Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, if they run in this situation, they would have kept him. They would have kept Jon Kitna. Now, trust me personally, I think that the Dallas Cowboys should keep Jon Kitna because of the growth parameters and because of the things that he was able to assist and aid and shift and move and help out the young kid, Dak Prescott. Now, we're heading into the year 2020. The draft is right around the corner. We have our reservations on a few things, especially as it relates to the overall scheme, the philosophy, the way and the approach of the game as it relates to the actual defensive side of the ball, the defensive tackle, the safety looks. We got our reservations on that. And there's nothing wrong with that, Cowboy Nation. But I have to say this, though. When you look at the total picture, changes is a good thing, basically, because we know what it looks like 5 years ago. We know what happened 3 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And we know exactly what happened last year because of no change. So sometimes there's a little xenophobia. You see, the fear of the unknown. We have that collectively. But looking back at Dak Prescott, looking and going over everything he has accomplished, I think that he's a guy that does not play for the stats. I really do, because he had every inch and every possibility to beat out the Tony Romo stats of the passing yards per year, or what have you, and had so many opportunities to do other things. Run the rock and these sorts. Remember the other day when I did the comparison analysis of how much Dak Prescott run opposed to the, I want to say Ravens quarterback, Lamar Jackson? Just go look it up, rushing attempts. They attempted to rush the ball, the rock, with Lamar Jackson, 147 attempts. And I think that was his first year, 176 attempts a second. Dak Prescott only had around 50-something, maybe 56 attempts. Not all the way out, right on the numbers, but just to give you a gauge, per se, of what's going on. Now, who would they bring in as far as the quarterback's coach? I don't know. But one thing that I can say, that Mike McCarthy supposedly be a quarterback whisperer. He worked out with those of the likings of a Joe Montana, Steve Bono, Elvis Grbac. He worked with a lot of guys. Not saying that these guys are a guideway or segue or pushing of a parameter of Dak Prescott certain skills, because we can go on and on. Brett Favre, Aaron Brooks, Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud. So I think I trust his judgment. I trust his intellect. And think about this. Jon Kitna is not in the fold, not in the same parameters or systems that we have to say this, that Mike McCarthy is accustomed to. So it could be that type of situation. West Coast offense, they probably looking for these type of foot placements, these type of hip points, and these type of arm angles, and those sort of things. I don't know. All we got to do is wait and see, Cowboy Nation, and taking it one day at a time, one movement at a time, inch by inch, and everything else will be fine. We look at this team. We love this team. We want good things to happen to this team. And of course, you get your haters, you get people that's going to sit back and say that this team is going to be an accident waiting to happen, which, dare I say, you could say the exact same thing to 30 other teams or 31 other teams. And it's only one team that's going to win the Super Bowl. And it's everybody else back to scratching their heads and saying, what happened? Why did we lose? What went wrong on our end? You see, what kind of adjustments we can make? That's the reality of it, Cowboy Nations. And all I can say is a focused will, sharp determinations of the mind. Everything else will be fine still. So draft is right around the corner. But before the draft, there's this major thing that people fail to realize. I call it the free agency before the draft. There's two folds of the free agency. And before the draft, sometimes a new team with new head coaches and these sorts, they like to grab their guys. And then they look at the draft as a supplement to what they got. So if this team got the talent that they say, then they will look for filling in some of those short gaps before the draft with the free agency, and then seal it off for the growth factor with the draft. And then after the draft, that's where you can go grab another wave of those free agencies. Good teams, great teams, and wonderful teams know how to combat all of those resources. And like I always say, everybody have a reason, but results are what matter. So I'm looking at Will McClay during this time frame. He's studying. You may not hear from Will McClay because he's in somebody's lab going over every situation, every angle. And here's my solution to Dak Prescott. Here's my solution. If you guys waited to me to get to this point, here's my solution. You find that veteran quarterback. You find him. You put him in this particular offense. You put a little fire under Dak Prescott. You find somebody who's accustomed to West Coast offense. You submerge them into this situation. You elevate Dak Prescott to this point where this competition will elevate him to the point where now you have to look at everything. Because Stephen Jones came out the other day saying that they got to work on the contract. They must get this thing done. And we as fans, we are a million miles from this. A lot of people already assuming that the Dallas Cowboys do not believe in Dak Prescott. No. There's really three folds as it relates to contracting. There's the general manager, or dare I say the owner, the Dallas Cowboys, in one corner. And then in the other corner, you have Dak Prescott's agent. You got his scouting reports and these sort of things that's in the middle. But however, you have his agents fighting. And they can't sit there and say, well, I'm willing to accept the lowball offer. I'm willing to accept the 30 mil. I'm willing to accept the 25 mil. No, the agency is there to say, okay, my client is at this rate. My client is putting up these type of numbers. Yes. Those endorsements are nice. They are sweet. The $50 million that you guys are somehow providing to my particular client. However, on paper, as it relates to the NFL contract, my client, dare I say, deserve to have this amount of money, whatever it may be. And the last was, because remember, I said there's three folds. The last one that's on that type of fold is Dak Prescott himself. He may can look at it and say, hey, I really want to play for 25 million. And then that representative say, hey, we can't do that. We would never, ever be able to sign another player if we fool around and lowball you in those particular situations, or we give you that contract. It will sully and denigrate us as representations of you. Because at the end of the day, if you go that low, there will be nobody else willing to sign for that type of money under our agency. Because they're going to look at it and say, did you help out our client the best way possible? And there's nowhere we can justify for those particular numbers. However, in Jerry Jones' corner, they saying, yes, let's go that route. Now, there's could be some under the hand stuff, but the NFL doesn't work the way. And Jerry Jones and company are not that shiesty, you see. And that's just the reality of it, Cowboy Nation. So contract talks are always gritty. They're always grimish. They always, from the fan perspective, emotionally, because if you look at it in these type of situations, you say, well, if you give Dak Prescott the highest quarterback, payout ever, and he never won a Super Bowl, you crazy, you see. But there's no such thing, because the moment you set the market and it reset the market, there's somebody else that's going to come in right behind you. Now, if I'm a Cowboys player and the new CBA is rolling around, it's good to just hold back, because you know for sure that the money, the cap, and everything else will be more if you want money, if that's your driving force. Now, to Dak Prescott wishes, he could have said to his agency, I'm only focused on football. I'm going to let you all handle the rest. I'm only focused on football. And to Jerry Jones and company, they may be looking at it like, man, boy, let's see what can go on here, because they only thinking Super Bowl at this point. They only thinking winning championships as well. However, the business is business aspect. Just like Mike McCarthy had to get rid of Jon Kitna, it's nothing personal, it's just business. Just like when Jerry Jones look at Dak Prescott, it's nothing personal, it's just business. Yes, we're going to try to give you the lowest amount possible. And your agency wants you to have the highest amount possible. And Dak Prescott said, I just want to play the game. That's the reality. And the same conversation piece can go with Amari Cooper. There's so many people saying that he's soft. There's so many people that say they don't have the grit, the grind. Let me tell you something, guys. Research and look up plantar fasciitis. Look it up. Let me know what you find as far as recovery time. And let me know that those recovery aspects that he set out for those amount of times that we're talking about. I do know that the Shay Sharps of the world and whoever else say negative, ill things, or the Skip Baylesses of the world. And I can't say Shay Sharp never played football, because he knows it, but he's given a strip too. However, people, when you look at the total picture of everything, 79 receptions, had more yards than he had the previous year. Yes, he had a lot of drops. He had 7 drops last year, what have you, which is a lot. 3 drops prior to that. So what I'm trying to say, Cowboy Nation, is that I'm going to give you guys the Nietzsche quote again. Do not spoil what you have by desiring the things that you don't have. Because at one point, this thing that you have was something that you wish for, long for, even beg for. So what I can say is, with this whole type of situation, don't spoil a war over Amari Cooper thinking that you can get better out there on the market, or thinking that you can go out there and draft somebody who can put up those numbers. Let me know if a rookie put up those numbers, and I'll hush. I will hush. If a rookie put up 79 receptions of 1,000, whatever it is, 8 touchdowns and beyond, maybe they can do it the second and third year. But at the same token of time, it's all about how we look at this entire team. And I will say this, Cowboy Nation. Amari Cooper gets the best team's number 1 cornerback. They roll the coverages his way. And then on top of that, teams spend an extra hour or so game planning just on number 19. You can be one of those people that say, well, Michael Gallup can take over and he can handle the roll coverages in the number one corner, and he can have that guy boxing him and bracketing him, and also jamming him at the point of contact and seeing if he can get those same results without Amari Cooper on the field. I want people to go back and look at that Jets game. Let me know how that came out, right? So there's so many factors. I don't think, did Michael Gallup play that Jets game? He could have been out too. Could be off on a few things. I'm just trying to shoot it off from the top of my dome. But what I'm saying is Michael Gallup, as much as I love him, I love number 13, I don't think that he's ready to be a number one. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, Cowboy Nation. Just be careful. Just be careful. Let's just go. Let's wrap this thing up. I really appreciate you all. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this content. Baby Beard Gang is still here. We growing this thing one day at a time, one movement at a time. Omega-3, 6, 9 oils that help your beard grow. And I want to help people out too, because this thing is going to be bigger in a couple of weeks. Oils, your conditioning oil, that help out, as well as, and this conditioning oil is beard conditioning oil, shea butter and moisture. Stuff works. And coconut oil, take those pills. It's not only help out with your hair growth, but it also help out with your skin and make it smooth and all of those things. And of course, your cup of joe, cup of coffee. All right, Cowboy Nation, that's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. Let's go. Baby Beard Gang all day, every day. For right now. Salute.